huge shout out for everybody for being here. I see a lot of familiar faces. And I think my dad is also on here. He was like, what are you doing today? And I was like, I'm giving a workshop. And he immediately was like, send me a link. So hopefully my dad learns how to pitch a TV show. If you don't know me, my name is Anna. I work full-time for the late night show, Full Frontal with Samantha Bee. I have worked there for the last 4 years. And last year, like a crazy person, I decided to make a TV show pilot and try to sell it. So that's kind of where my journey comes from in wanting to teach this workshop. I went from not knowing anything about how to pitch a show to kind of knowing my way through it. And it all came from asking people questions who had pitched shows before. So I kind of put it all together into this presentation with the hopes of teaching more people how to do it. I really thought that to pitch a show, you had to be like a 60-year-old studio executive who had been working for the same network for years. I thought that's how it all worked. And I'm coming to realize that networks and production companies are looking for young talent, young ideas, new, fresh things to put on the air. And so pretty much anyone can do this, which is why I want you guys to sell a show, to watch this, be inspired, and sell a show. The show that I'll be referring to is the one that I made last year and took to some networks. It's called Run. It's a docuseries where a team of experts transformed the campaign of a woman running for office. The timeline of how this went down, we shot it in February 2019. We spent the spring months, it was probably 3 to 4 months, creating the pilot and the trailer, putting all our documents together, and in June, July, we took it out to production companies and networks with the hope of being signed. We found this fantastic production company who wanted to represent our project, and they sort of led us through the process of pitching it to different networks. Some networks said no. Actually, a lot of them said no. We got some maybes. And then for the last year, there was one network who was really interested in the show, and it turned into a year-long of negotiations, of going back and forth with casting, with the show concept, just a lot of changes that they wanted to make. And a couple weeks ago, we got the final no, which it's okay. It's totally fine. I'm not sad about it because it was a really great experience. And after going through everything, it just kind of lit up something inside me. And I realized how fairly easy the project was to pitch a show. It is time consuming, but it's fairly easy to do. And I just started pitching other ideas to the people that I had contacts with throughout this experience. So right now I have a couple of shows with a few different production companies that are out there being pitched. The good news coming out of this pandemic is that right now is an amazing time for development because productions are shut down. Nobody's filming anything. And production companies and networks are looking for shows right now. The way it usually works is what is called pilot season happens in January, and that's when networks are looking to buy shows. So production companies are looking to sign people and shows in June and July. So guess what? We're in the perfect time to pitch to companies so that they have enough time to make your show by the time January comes around and networks are looking for stuff. And it's especially I don't want to use the word fun, but it's interesting right now because of the pandemic. Networks are sort of changing the way they're buying things. They're looking for projects that don't involve large crews or large sets. So it's been a time, if you have an idea that's innovative, that's, that kind of fits the parameters of how people can film, then you're in luck. All right, so I put together this presentation on how to pitch to a network. Like Amber said, we're going to save all the questions to the very end. I'm not going to be checking the chat very much because it'll be very distracting to me. So I'll check it at the end. I'm also happy to take questions live from you guys at the very end.
I'll keep an eye on the chat, and if there's anything that's like needed to get your attention,
oh yeah, and if there's like something people have absolute questions about, she'll like flag me down or something. Okay, I will start sharing my screen, which is terrifying.
You got it.
Terrifying already. All right, is this working?
It is.
If you can't tell, this is my very first Zoom workshop. I have gone to a lot of them. I've never presented one. So hopefully this will be great, and we can do a series of these for any other things that you guys have questions about.
If everyone is looking, you'll probably, if you're in full view, you might see a section of everyone's faces down the side. If you're not in full screen, you'll see them at the top. But if you want to like minimize that, there's above all the videos, there's a little bar that says hide thumbnail video, and you can hide all people's faces so you can see a full view of the slides.
You know what? I like seeing people's faces. It's nice. So I get to see your faces. Oh, and I just remember that my coworker Jim is here, and it's his birthday today, which is, thank you for spending your birthday with us, Jim. Okay, that's neither here nor there. All right, let's get started. So here are the things we'll be talking about in this workshop. The documents you'll need to pitch your show, how to get in the room to pitch your show, and once you're in the room to pitch, how to actually pitch your show inside that room. A few things to note is that if any one of you out there successfully pitch a show after this workshop, you have to give me a percentage in the commission. That is the rule. We'll settle on the percentage later. And like I said, this is a great time for development because no one is filming right now. Every production company and network is looking for ideas because they've all had to change the way they're doing things right now. Ooh, okay. Ooh, I just have to click on the screen. Okay, so how do you come up with a show idea? Step one, you guys, some of you guys already have a show idea already there. Step two to creating a show is brainstorm as much of the show as you can. Make sure you know the show you want to create inside out. So if you were to explain it to someone, they would be able to visualize the show without having any questions. Now, this is sort of the very first step to coming up with a show idea. You want to make sure that whatever show you want to create, you can see it inside out so that if people have questions, you can answer them. This will come into play a couple different times during the pitch process because you'll be pitching your show a lot. So when you get in the room to pitch to a network executive should be able to sort of watch the show as you explain it to them. I know this seems silly to kind of like say to brainstorm this, as much of your show as you can, but it's true. If you say like my show's about friends that live in New York, you could be talking about the TV show Friends, you could be talking about Broad City. So you want to be as specific as possible. You want to know what that apartment looks like, who the friends are, what kind of personalities they have. If it's half an hour show, an hour show, you want to fully create the show before you start pitching. This is just a very simple advice, but it comes into play a lot as you continue to pitch. One note before moving forward, that the process for pitching unscripted and scripted varies a little bit. My area of expertise has been unscripted shows, which is docuseries and reality shows. I don't have a lot of experience pitching scripted shows. So I was able to talk to one of my friends who has pitched scripted shows, and I put all her expertise in here to help you guys out. The main difference that I noticed is that for a scripted show, you most likely need to write the pilot episode. I don't know if that's obvious for you guys out there who are writers, but you definitely need your pilot script to show to a network so they know what the show's about. I also realized last night that I didn't put anything in here about animation, which I also don't have a lot of experience about, but I assume all these genres are kind of the same steps and they all need the same documents that I'm about to show you. And I assume animation needs a lot more visual components to your pitches. Okay, so what documents do you need to pitch? You need a treatment, registration, a one-pager, a pitch deck, and some optional materials if you want to go above and beyond. I'm going to try to go through these slowly so you guys can write it down. When I get excited, I talk really fast, so I'm trying not to do that right now, so you guys get some time to sort of write the things you're interested in. So these are the documents that you need to pitch. We'll go through them one by one. Okay, what is the treatment? A treatment is a Word document that you put all the information in about your show. So your title, your log line. If you don't know what your log line is, I don't know how much experience you guys have in this field. It's just basically a one-sentence summary of your show, and it captivates people to want to listen more about your show. You need a summary of your show, who your producers are. If it's just you, great, you just put your biography down there. The style of your show, which means you can add a little comparison of what your show is like. For the show that I made last year, our style, the thing we constantly said, we said, oh, it's like Queer Eye, but with politics, and people got it right away. So if your show is similar to Insecure or Stranger Things, you want to kind of compare it. It doesn't hold you back. It actually makes producers right away know what you're talking about. You also want to know the structure of your show, which is the length. So if it's half an hour or if it's an hour, you want to put that down. In the case of unscripted, you want to put if it's self-contained or if it's an arc style. An arc style means that, for example, if it's a competition show, the competition takes place throughout the whole season. A self-contained unscripted show would be something where the competition takes place every episode. So if you guys are watching The Floor is Lava on Netflix, the competition takes place in that episode. Arc style competition shows would be something like The Bachelor, where it's the whole season. You also want to include the tone of the show, so the look and the feel. Again, using the example of Friends and Broad City, they obviously have very different looks and feels, so you want to include that. Friends is brighter, more colors. Broad City is a little rougher and filmed a little bit more handheld. You also want to include your characters, your subjects, and your actors. One paragraph about your pilot episode and another paragraph describing your future episodes. In the case of unscripted, you're kind of guessing what's going to happen in the next shows, and that's fine. You just want to include the guesses in there so people have an idea of what you want to capture in the next episodes. Then any additional elements of the show, production schedule limitation. And then this comes from my friend who pitched scripted shows. She said to include a paragraph of your life story and how it relates to the script. So she said that when it comes to scripted, people are really, really interested in finding why you're passionate about the show, how it relates to your life, why you're the person to tell this story. Kind of tug at their heartstrings a little bit. I think that makes it easier to sell. And also in scripted, she said to include the story arc for the first 3 seasons. Again, that might seem like a whole lot of work, but you just want to include something there. You don't have to include the scripts for all 3 seasons. You just want to let the producers know that there is a plan in the future for the stories of the characters that you want to follow. So I want to show you guys some example of treatments. This is the treatment that we used for Run. So literally just has the producers, the genre. I'll leave this on the screen a little bit longer. I'll try not to get out of it. The log line, a team of female political experts train novice and passionate political candidates by transforming their campaigns from striving to thriving. This is the summary. Again, we have the style, Queer Eye meets politics. And you can see we have the structure, the pilot episode, the future episodes, additional elements of the show. We wanted to work with celebrity guests, so we included them in here. Also political organizations. And if your show is timely, so ours kind of depended on the 2020 election, we put this in here because we want producers to know, networks to know that they should be filming it now, just in time for the 2020 elections. So again, your treatment is basically just a Word document that has all the information about your show. And for those of you who are looking for scripted, I found the New Girl treatment. If any of you guys watch the New Girl, theirs is not, so ours is more bullet points, and this one is more, you can tell that our writer wrote this because it's very like, you know, it doesn't have bullet points. They just include what the show's about, some taglines. And by the way, you can look up the New Girl pitch by just Googling it. It's like the first thing that shows up. It has a long description. This one is actually a little long. It has a description of all the characters, pilot summary, other episodes. And then very end thing, the writer writes why he's passionate about telling this story and why he's the one to tell this story. So again, whether you're pitching unscripted, scripted, or animation, your treatment is pretty much going to have all the same information. And then you can also find the Freaks and Geeks pitch online. Again, super easy. This one is 55 pages long, which is crazy long. They should only be a couple pages. But yeah, it has all the characters, you know, who the family is. But again, it's just a Word document. Super easy, right? Guys, we did it. We sold the show. Okay. All right, so that is the treatment. Oh yeah, so for those of you who don't know what a logline is, I just have an example of the Stranger Things logline. So this is like a basic, like the first draft of a logline. So for Stranger Things, you could say, when a mother's young son disappears, she must fight to get him back. It's okay, but it's not very descriptive. So if you write a better one, it would be, when a young boy disappears from a quiet 1980s suburban town, his mother, friends, and the police chief must confront terrifying alien forces in order to get him back. So it tells you the time period, it tells you a little bit about the characters, and of course, you know, what the struggle is, what the show is going to be about. If you want to do an extended logline, this is more of a summary of what the show is about. So the show is a primetime, hour-long sci-fi comedy thriller about a young boy who disappears from a quiet 1980s suburban town. His mother, friends, and the police chief must confront terrifying alien forces in order to get him back. So this just adds primetime, hour-long sci-fi comedy thriller. So you always want to add how long your show is going to be. Okay, so you have your treatment. You are ready to go. You're gonna want to register it so people don't steal it. That is the next step that we did. If you go to copyright.gov, it's $45. The WGA, you can also register it there for $20 or $10 if you're a member. John Terry out there in the crowd. So I don't know if you have to do both. I just did both to be safe. Again, you don't want people to steal your ideas. You're gonna wanna save your confirmation number that you get from them for later. I'll show you guys where this goes. Okay, so you have your treatment, and you're gonna wanna create a one-pager next. What is a one-pager? A one-pager is basically your show's business card. This is what you're gonna take around and email people, everybody you meet, this is what you're gonna send to them. The good news is that you don't have to come up with new things for your one-pager. This is stuff that you already put in your treatment. So it's your title, logline, summary, who your producers are, how long your show is, the genre of your show, the pilot, and a hint of future episodes, and why the show is needed now. So one pager, they're supposed to be one page. I usually make mine two just because, I don't know, I like to design them and I have a lot of information. So I'm gonna show you the one pager that we did for Run, the pilot that I created last year. Okay, you can see these are the characters, the women who are in the show. This is Run, a campaign transformation show. We have our logline here: 5 female political experts empower female candidates as they run for office. You could also play the trailer from here. And then I also included every which way for people to contact me. That's very important in the one pager, because if you send it to someone via email, they might pass it around to someone else. So you don't want the contact information to get lost. You always want a way for a producer to get back to you in case they're interested. So we have the producers. We have that it's a reality docuseries. It's 44-minute episodes. For those of you who don't know TV, the TV world, there's half-hour shows and 1-hour shows, but because of commercials, half-hour shows are usually 23 minutes and our shows are 44 minutes. So we put 44 minutes, meaning an hour. A summary of what the show is about. I bolded what the pilot episode was about. And then the very last thing is kind of why it's important. It's the 2020 elections. That's like, sort of like the siren to the producers of like, this is why it's important now. I'm gonna scroll through other one pages that I found so you guys get an idea of how different they can be. They absolutely do not have to be this flashy. You can make it as, you know, you can make it a Word document, you can make it as plain as you want or as flashy as you want. It's really up to what your project is like. This one pager is for a show called Family Dog. So theirs is also 2 pages. So Family Dog is a new comedy reality series. Bam, right away, you know what it's about. It's a comedy reality series. We meet a family who face one of the toughest and most important decisions ever, choosing a dog. You guys would watch this, right? I kind of love this show. So they give you the format. It's 45-minute episodes, and it looks like they have 8 episodes already. and recommended time slot, weekday prime time. They have a summary of their show and a few additional photos. And then it looks like they have all their contact information. So again, this is sort of like your show's business card. This is what you will send to everybody. And you really have to do a good job of summarizing what your show is and also grabbing people's attention so that they're interested in asking you more. Here is another one pager that I found. It's called Clash of the Choirs. Let's see what it's about. Okay, it's a talent show that follows the path of 8 celebrities who are each given the task of going back to the town in which they were raised to recruit, form, and coach an amateur choir to the level where they can compete. This is a little bit long of a log line, if you ask me, but they also have, the format. Let's see, primetime 2007, and then the contact information at the bottom. You can also include like who you want your viewers to be, any sort of graphs if you've already done some, I don't know, analytics on the show. You can include pretty much whatever you want, but make sure to include a very good summary of your show, something that grabs people's attention. Like I think this certainly grabs my attention, your log line and everything. So I'll just leave this here for a minute so you guys can sort of take a look at what's on there. And if you want to buy the show, you can contact these people. Okay, so I just also want to plug canva.com. I made my one pager and I make all my one pagers on canva.com. I swear to you, this workshop is not sponsored by Canva, but if you would like to sponsor Canva or you would like to sponsor this workshop, it's amazing. So Canva is a free website where you can design anything. You can design flyers, social media posts. These are all the shows that I'm working to pitch right now. Please don't steal them. But yeah, you can basically design whatever you want. It is super easy to use. After this workshop, you guys go check it out and start designing your one pager. I can't recommend Canva enough. It's awesome. Okay, so now that I plug Canva and they give me no money, let's go and talk about your pitch deck. So a pitch deck is a 5 to 10 slides that include all the information that you already have in the treatment, but this is basically what you're going to be pitching in the room. It's basically a PowerPoint that shows what your show is, but in a really exciting way. And again, the good news is that you already have this information when you created the treatment. So I'm going to show you guys the pitch deck for Run. So again, oh, and this is where the registration numbers come in. When you registered your show, you want to put it first thing right here so that the production company or network that's looking at your pitch deck knows that you're serious. So they know that you registered it. They know that if this lands on their desk, that it's not a stolen idea, it's an idea that is registered somewhere. So again, this is the pitch deck. Again, we have the log line. We have the trailer that people can play. These are the women who are trainers on the show. For people writing scripted, these could be your characters in the show. We have our pilot episode. This is the female candidate that we featured. We have a hint of the next episodes that we wanted to create. Collaboration opportunities. This is where you include who you are. And again, always include contact information so that if it lands on someone's desk, they know how to reach you. I'm going to quickly go through other pitch decks that I found really helpful. This one is for a documentary. It's a feature-length documentary about 1970s Vietnamese nail salons. It's called Nailed It. It's a feature documentary. I'll just kind of slowly go through it. But the main thing is that people kind of grasp the feel. You want to put all the information so that people know what the show is about, but you want also the feel of what it's going to look like. So here they included some photos. You can also include a director's statement. Like I said before, you should always include why you're the person to tell the story and what your personal connection is to the story. So this person included their director's statement, their trailer, their characters, some more images, their crew, and then, of course, their contact information. I'm going to go through and show you guys another pitch deck for a reality show. This one's called Streets of the City. So again, you can see they have the registration number. And if you're already signed by someone, you include their logos here. So again, this has their log line. a little bit about who their talent is. So this is a reality show where they find people, singers and musicians on the street, and then they bring them in and they compete against each other. So you can kind of get a really good feel about what the show is going to feel like. You get like this graininess, like the brightness. They tell you a little bit about the process. Then they tell you there's going to be like an app component to it, which is very cool. And then the last pitch deck that I'll show you is a feature documentary about cowboys. I try to choose like very diverse feels to these pitch decks. These guys are a little bit more like rough and tumble Western. Again, they all have the same thing is what's important. They all have the summary, the title, the log line, pictures of a cow, the style, some film references. Let's see, who they are, the director and writer, the producer and writer. So you guys kind of get a feel of what this documentary is going to be about. Very Western type of feel to it. All right, so that is your pitch deck. Here are some optional materials to go above and beyond. I won't go too deep into these just because some of them might come after you sell your show. For scripted shows, you of course need your pilot script. A series Bible is an extended, ooh, I just activated Siri. A series Bible is a very extended, I don't know how else to say it, but it's a Bible that explains what your series is about. You'll most likely need this if you're getting very close to selling your show and they ask for a more extended view of the show. And it is also what you're going to show the director or the DP so they can see what the show's about and like the style and everything before you start to shoot. One of the best series Bibles that I found online is the Stranger Things series Bible. It really is so thorough and beautiful and inspiring. I can't tell you guys enough. It's also like maybe 50 pages, I don't know. So this is before the show was filmed. These are all reference images. So again, it's like a children's book. They have like the introduction to the show. They have references to like E.T. Again, this is a very long series Bible. If you guys want to look more into it, if you just type Stranger Things series Bible online, you'll find it. But yeah, this is what a series Bible looks like. It's a very long version of the pitch deck, basically. A lookbook, if you want to go above and beyond, is basically what the show is going to look and feel like. This is more of like a Pinterest board, and it should have colors. It should mostly be like a collection of colors and tone and feel. So this is a style book for a show that I found called Summer of '05 that's about, teenagers in '05. And you'll see they have like tone and theme. And this is all before the show is shot. So these are all reference images that they find online. They have a really good breakdown on like who the characters are. If they're not cast yet, you kind of want to include, your dream cast or people who have, very solid personalities that a producer would be like, oh, I know who that character would be. So it's all just images that kind of give you a look and feel of what the show's going to be about. I won't spend too long on this part. And then additional stuff that you guys can have is you can have a completed pilot. We made one just because we wanted to have a trailer for the show to show around. You absolutely don't have to make a pilot. In fact, the shows that I'm pitching now, I haven't made anything. I just make the one pager and the pitch deck and I just send it around. But we wanted to make a trailer for Run. I won't show it to you guys, but if you want to see it, it's runtheseries.com. And then we also pulled out clips from our time filming that were very, that would grab people. It's kind of like the most exciting footage that you get if you guys end up filming anything. So we showed these clips in the room. I won't show them to you guys because we've got to move on. And then social media presence, if you want to go above and beyond, if you want to put your show sort of Facebook page or put them on Instagram, I don't think this hurts you at all. Like we started every single platform for Run. And we found that when we were in the room with the network, they would ask how many followers we had, which is a very insane thing that happens now. that they want to know, you know, how many followers you have. I don't know. It was kind of a turn off for people to ask that because, you know, influencers and whatnot. But anywho, just in case you want to go above and beyond, create some social media presence so that when you go in, you can say, oh yeah, we have such and such followers, and, you know, and people are more familiar with your project. Okay, cool. So now you have all your materials. I somehow got out of full screen mode. I'm going to try to get back into full screen mode. Okay, here we go. All right, so you have all your materials and you're ready to go into a room to pitch the show. How do you get in the room? It's probably a huge question that you guys are asking. So this is a very professional graphic that I made. Graphic design is my passion. So there's 3 ways that I found that people get into a room with a network, which is the ultimate goal right here. So basically, the very most direct one is you just find someone who works development and network and you pitch to them. The reason I put this red arrow here is because I did this before last year and it did not work out. Anytime I went in to pitch to someone directly to a network, they asked me if I was represented by either an agent or a production company. And I would say no, because I'm not rep by either. I wasn't at the time. So they wouldn't take me as seriously. So you guys want to get repped with your TV show. The first way, obviously, is to get an agent. A lot of writers have them. I'm trying to get repped as a director. So if any of you guys out there are agents, please slide into those DMs. And then the way that I suggest going through a network is by getting repped with a production company. That just means that they become your agent for that project and you partner with them and they will take your show to a network with you to try to sell together. So that is what we did with Run last year. We partnered up with an awesome production company who took us around to all the networks. So I'll leave this on so you guys can enjoy graphic design. How do you guys find people to email your one-pager and your pitch deck to? This is something that was the very first thing after I was done with everything. I'm like, great, I have everything. How do I get this in front of a production company or a network? So basically what you want to do is find shows that are similar to yours or that you admire and track down their production company. So who made the show? Every show was made by a production company and they're all online is the great thing. Some of them will have like a contact us page in their website. And then you'll just want to write, hey, I have a pitch. Please contact me if you want to look at my one-pager. But every production company has a development person, and they're the ones in charge of basically finding new shows and selling them to networks. So you want to find who the development person at this production company is. You email them, and and then you rinse and repeat. You do this for as many production companies as you want. What's in your email? So there is no right or wrong way to pitch a show or wrong people to pitch to. People might know other people who might be looking for an idea. You want to send them a simple, concise, and considerate email with the one page attached. That's your best bet for getting someone to look at your idea. It just is a very short email that it has your one pager and you say, thanks for looking at this. If you want to know more, I have a pitch deck ready to go. Or if you have a trailer ready to go, you include that. Can you cold email people online? Absolutely. Just be nice about it. A lot of people don't like to be cold emailed. Oh, I gotta shut down this text message from someone. Okay, doesn't matter. Oh no!
We don't see it.
Okay, and I completely lost the presentation.
Oh, it's in front of us.
Okay, hold on. I will find it again.
Okay.
I promise. Okay, I'm back. Person who texted me, you're fired. Okay. Can you cold email people online? Absolutely, just be nice about it because they're not gonna know who you are. So thank them for their time. One thing I did last year that was a little bit insane is we obviously wanted our show to be on Netflix. That felt like the right home for it. So I found out who was a development person at Netflix for a documentary series because all these articles are always out there in Deadline and Hollywood Reporter. They, a couple years ago, they wrote an article saying like, congrats to this person for becoming the development person. So I looked them up. I found out that everybody at Netflix, their email is their first name, period, last name at netflix.com. So you guys could take that tip with you. And I basically emailed everybody in the articles saying, hey, I have this one pager, would you like to look at it? Some of them wrote back, some didn't, but just be nice about it. Some tips for your emails, just say, in your subject line, pitch, this is a show about blank, and anything you made, you want to also include there, so it kind of grabs them a little bit more. If your show idea is timely, put that in all caps. So because ours was timely, I put giant caps, timely show pitch, show about women running for office. Also do your research. So know what type of content the production company makes, and also know what type of content they're missing, because your show is going to be the solution to their problem, whether it's a production company or the network. So if you find a production company online that you like, they usually have all their shows listed. And if you go on there and you see they don't have any shows about dogs, and that's what your show is about, in your email you say, hey, huge fan of all your shows. I love this show about cats and this show about birds. Guess what? You don't have any shows about dogs, and that's what I'm here for. This is my show pitch. It's called Family Dog. I really hope Family Dog got made, by the way. Okay. So say the production company writes back and they're interested, what happens next? So they may ask you to email the pitch deck, which is what we went through before. This is just a longer explanation of what your show is about. So you could email it directly to them, or they may bring you into the room, or Zoom now, to do a show pitch. So last year we actually did our pitch deck presentation in the room. If you get into the room or Zoom now, this is how they're doing pitches now through Zoom. Here are some tips. Come prepared with all your materials, even though you might not use them all, and have them memorized. And be excited about your show. Your excitement for the show will sell the show more than the concept. This always, my co-producers and I, when we stepped into the room, we always wanted to be prepared and excited for the show. This was always feedback that we got from people. They said, oh, you're so passionate and excited about this idea. And we would say, yes. So be excited and passionate. Always answer the show, why is this show needed now? This is probably one of the first things that you need when you're thinking of your show concept. Why is it needed now? And also know your personal connection to the show. I know I've said this a couple times, but it is really important to know your personal connection to the show concept. I'm really passionate about politics, and I'm a feminist, so I'm passionate about women. So when I went into the room, I always said, hey, there's a lot of women running for politics right now. Nobody's covering them. This is why Run is the show for you. And always be prepared to answer questions about the show. Again, you want to be able to explain your show so that the person that you're talking to can picture it in their mind. So it's almost as if they're watching the show in front of them. Again, this goes back to the very beginning. It seems silly, but know your own show inside out. Because if you just have an idea about a show about a dog, it's not going to help you when you're in the room and they're asking questions like, well, how long is the show? Who's in the show? And so on. And then the last thing, when you're in the room pitching, you want to go in with other show ideas. So I know that most of you guys out there have this one show idea that you're very passionate about, but my advice is that that's probably not the idea that's going to sell. I know that sounds crazy, but this is my experience that I've had. When you go into the room, you always want to have 2 or 3 other show ideas that you can pitch on the spot, because they're always going to ask you. They're going to say, we love your show. What else are you working on? What other shows can you pitch to us? So you always want to pull something out of your pocket that's like, well, I got a show about this. I got a show about this. Do you want to hear about it? You don't have to have all these documents for the other shows that you have in your back pocket, but you just want to know at least like a general idea of what your show is going to be about. I went in to meet with a production company because I was interested in shadowing their directors last summer. And it was completely unrelated to pitching, but the development person said, by the way, do you have any shows that you're pitching? Like, I know that you direct, but do you have any shows? And thanks to my improv background, I completely out of my pocket pulled out 3 shows. And they were like, oh, that sounds really interesting. Could you email them to me? I went home, I created the one pager for these shows that I had just made up on the spot, and I emailed them, and I'm currently developing one show with this company, which is insane. But always come prepared with these show ideas, even though Run might not sell. This other idea might. So who knows, guys? Maybe I'll do a follow-up. Okay, so you have gone into the room with this production company. You have pitched your heart out with your pitch deck, and you've answered all the questions. What happens now? They either say no, in which case you ask them what they are looking for, You come up with new show ideas and repeat the process. I can't stress this enough that you always want to have multiple show ideas so that you can go back in, and in case a production company or network is looking for something similar that you have, you can go back and say, hey, I actually have this. Or you go on to pitching to a network. So if you have successfully pitched to a production company and they have agreed to be your representative for the project, you shake hands, as you see here in my awesome design, my little graphic. So you have partnered up with a production company and you've agreed to a contract. These contracts are called a first look deal or a shopping agreement. Basically, you have laid out all the terms of when you go into a network, how you guys are going to split everything. And this obviously varies from show to show, from company to company. If you have a shopping agreement, you won't be able to pitch this idea to anyone else at this time. They kind of own the idea for the moment being as you're pitching together. So another thing to know about production companies is that the development person has soft meetings, is what they call them, with networks every month. So they will meet with all of their networks, whatever connections they have, and they'll say, oh, we have these 20 shows, and just very lightly mention what they're about. These are the soft meetings. They'll probably soft pitch your idea. A network will usually listen to the ideas, and if they like one of them, they'll ask you for a hard meeting. So these meetings with the networks are very similar to your first pitch with them. So what happens in a hard pitch to a network? Usually you'll go in with your production company who has become your agent, and you'll do your pitch again with your pitch deck. You want to have energy and enthusiasm again, as well as all the materials memorized. Again, be prepared for questions. You may adjust your pitch very differently depending on what networks you're pitching to. We pitched to CNN, which was a very different pitch from MTV. For CNN, it was a very serious news-focused and politics-focused pitch. And for MTV, we focused on the youth element, the fact that it was all women. Yeah, it was definitely very interesting. So your show pitch might vary a little bit depending on who you're pitching to. Again, in these hard pitches to networks, you always want to have backup pitches. I can't stress that enough. Always have stuff in your back pocket, even though you might not have the full pitch. And always, before you leave the room, ask what the network is looking for. So the development people at networks will always tell you what the show is looking for at the time. You can't be scared of them, because they will happily tell you, oh yeah, we're looking, for shows about reality dating shows. And you can say, great, I have one that's very similar. But people at networks who are the development people will always tell you what the network is looking for. And you can ask them in the room if you're pitching, or over email. You can ask them what they're looking for. Okay, so you have done your hard pitch with a network. What happens now? Again, they either say no, in which case you ask them what they're looking for, come up with more show ideas, and repeat the process. Or you develop your show with a network, which is the goal for every single one of us in this workshop. So you sold your show, a network said yes. If a network buys the show, they'll give you money through your production company to create a trailer or a full pilot episode. Everything from here on out is sort of up in the air. It's usually a few months of negotiating, of deciding how much money, of who gets the rights to what, of your cast and crew. And you're gonna have to give up, some things because you're working with a network. The show will likely change, but it's okay, unless it's not okay with you. You can say no and then go to the next network. If you guys read about there was an article that just came out about the woman who created I Will Destroy You. She was offered $1 million by Netflix to buy her show, but they said, we're not gonna give you any creative control. And she walked her butt right out of that meeting and waited, because she wanted to have creative control. The BBC came in with HBO and said, we're also interested. And she said, we want creative control. And she said, I want creative control. And they said, okay, how much do you want? And after negotiations, she got 0.5% creative control, which was more than Netflix offered her. So that's why it's on HBO right now. Highly recommend. Some tips before you sign with either a production company or a network. Know what role you want with the show, whether you're the writer, the co-producer. You want to have that firm before you go in. You want to know what you're willing to give creatively or not to make the show. You want to know how much money they're going to give you and negotiate that as well. Look at all the fine print, and having a lawyer is absolutely worth the money when it comes to contracts, because they'll only they'll be your only protection to not having people steal your money, creative ideas, and show. If you have friends who are lawyers, start, blowing up their phones right now. When we got a shopping agreement for a run, I went through all my contacts. I found a friend from a long time ago who is now an entertainment lawyer, and he was able to give me some advice about the contract and everything. So start blowing up the phones of your friends who are lawyers. Okay, so the dream is you start making your dream show with a pilot and then a series order. You did it. That was so easy, you guys. Here are some final thoughts. A very, very small percentage of pitches actually get made into shows. Oh, and my computer, something else came up. Okay, a very small percentage of pitches actually get made into shows, but people are always looking for fresh ideas. I can't stress it enough how many times development people at production companies have said, I'm just looking for the next fresh idea. They're always looking for fresh ideas, you guys, and I know that a lot of you out there have them. So I hope this has helped you sort of, you kind of get to see what the journey is going to be like to pitch your show. Always be on the lookout for what production companies and networks are looking for. And how do you know what they're looking for? You ask. So when that perfect time comes that a production company or a network says, we're looking for this show about friends in New York, or we're actually looking for reality shows about dogs, you say, I actually have that show. Let me pitch it to you. Here's my one pager. And always keep in mind, why is this show needed now? And why are you the person to sell this show and tell this story? So that was the presentation. Now we'll open it up for questions. We can either do, I'm going to stop screen sharing. So we can either do live questions, or Amber can tell me some that have been in the chat. Thank you guys again so much for being here. Thank you for helping me out with all the tech stuff, Amber. So I'm happy to take your questions as long as you guys can stay.
I have one question already before the other ones. Is it possible to send people the slides from today, or should I have them, or would we send around the recording? Someone messaged me privately and asked if it would be possible to have the slides at all.
So I think I'm happy to send the slides. I'll probably have to take out all the run stuff, maybe. I don't know, but I'm probably going to put the recording unlisted on YouTube, and I'm happy to send it to the people who were in this workshop. So I think I can just send through Eventbrite another email that has the unlisted link, because I know I went through it pretty fast. So I want you guys to be able to see everything. Yeah.
It was really, really awesome. Really helpful.
Yeah.
We have a question from Angela. She said, how do we land agents? I know you're in the process of that.
I wish I knew. I wish I knew. I think some friends that I know who have agents, if you know someone who has an agent, some people might get annoyed, some might not, but you can say, hey, could you put me in touch with your agent? I know some people get annoyed with that question. Other people are more than welcome to share with you their contact information. You can also cold email agencies. So there's CAA and then a bunch of others that represent people that you can just contact. I've also met agents in person at film festivals, networking events, and I've literally gone up to agents and been like, hi, I'm a director, I would like representation. And they have said, no, thank you. And they have said, no, thank you, and turned around, and that's okay. So I'm still working on it. So it's just, film festivals, workshops, programs, and never be afraid to ask, because people can just say no and turn around, but you never know, And also, the other way I know people have agents is they've just gotten a job at a TV show, and because of the position they have to be represented. So that's another way to get an agent. But if you're an agent and you're in this workshop, you have to let us know legally.
It looks like we have a question from Sarah. Let me see if I can spotlight her really quick.
Can I talk or no?
Yeah, you can talk.
Oh, you can hear me?
Sarah? Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, I raised my hand.
Yeah,
Hi.
you did. Good
Hi.
job.
Thank you. I won't take up a ton of your time. I have a question. So when you did get into the rooms, was it all from cold calling, or was it from like asking your friends, and like what was the percentage of that as far as like getting into the room for yours?
I want to say it was half. I got a lot I got a lot of people through cold emails, which is surprising. But again, development people, their job is to get these emails from people. So that's what their job is. So they're always looking for pitches. So I was able to get some meetings through cold emails. The production company that actually represented us with Run, we got through LinkedIn because one of our co-producers knew someone who knew someone there. So we found their LinkedIn information. We got LinkedIn Premium, again, not a sponsor of this workshop. And we just wrote them a message saying, hey, can you help us contact your development person? And we were able to find their email and send them our one pager and then get into the room. So I would say it's definitely half and half of like knowing people or cold emails for sure.
Nice. Sarah Hartshorn asked if we could get the full list of documents. Sarah, was that answered in the first question that I asked about sharing the slides, or do you want her to go over them right now?
As far as the documents, I will try to find a way to put them all up somewhere because they're definitely helpful. This has been just a year of like collecting things that I find online and from other people. So I'm gonna try to find the best way, maybe on a Google Doc or a Google folder, just stick them all in there.
Okay.
Or maybe by sharing the presentation, I'm not sure. But I'm gonna find a way to put them somewhere and send them to you guys because they're extremely helpful. And I know I went through them pretty fast.
Yeah, either of those works. That'd be great.
And then Ilana says, is Arch Style just for unscripted programming? Arc Style?
It usually is. If you're writing scripted, there's usually an arc throughout the season. So that's way more common. I don't know of any, well, an example of a self-contained scripted show would be something, I don't know if you guys are watching Little America, which is my current obsession, but they follow the story of one person per episode, and then the next episode has nothing to do with that story. So I guess it applies to both unscripted and scripted.
Justin has a great question. When you were talking about Netflix emails, is that first name dot last name at netflix.com?
Yes, it is first name dot last name, and you can always try to find those articles on Deadline or Hollywood Reporter saying who got what promotion to what job, and then you'll find their first name and last name. And I'm very excited for you guys to cold email Netflix because I spent my last year doing this. I can't remember what the format was for Amazon, but Amazon Studios also was something very similar where it was like their name at Amazon.com. Guys,
if you find one, then you can just follow the format for the rest of them.
I literally did this week. So I wanted to repitch this show to Katie Kirk's production company. And I found out that, this is going to get me in trouble, but I found out that everybody who works there is first name, last name at Kirk.com. So I just started emailing people. I found their development person and just emailed them.
Nice. So what's the alternative to cold emailing a production company? Or does the development person not mind you cold emailing them? Like you said, it's their job, but I don't know.
It's their job and they don't mind. I mean, if they don't want to take your pitch, they'll probably just ignore you or say, no, thank you, not taking this at this time. The alternative is, I guess, just meeting people in person, I guess. I don't know, maybe not during the pandemic, but reaching out to people on Twitter or at film festivals, workshops, networking. And I don't know if this is also going to get me in trouble, but while we were trying to find people to pitch to, I kind of created this Excel document that said, this just had all the production companies that I contacted, all the networks and like their contact information. So if you have a very specific show that you want to pitch, just email me and I can try to help you find the right person to contact. I don't know if I should promise or guarantee that, but I definitely created like a huge Excel sheet of the development people at production companies at networks. So I know who to contact for my next pitches.
Nice. Are there any, Erin, thanks for telling me how to pronounce your name. I appreciate it. But are there any things that you must never do when pitching your shows?
Gosh, if I did that in a room, they definitely never told me. I will tell you what happened though, when we pitched to the production company that signed us. We ended our pitch and the people who we were pitching to said, wow, you guys are so prepared. This was our last pitch. And they literally pointed to a whiteboard that was completely blank, and it had somebody had drawn a basketball. So the people before them, before us, had come in and pitched some basketball show, and that's all they had. They had like a whiteboard and a basketball. So I think the thing not to do is come unprepared, because I can tell they didn't like that pitch at all. Yeah, and another thing not to do is, do your research, know what company you're going to be speaking to, know what shows they have made. Yeah, definitely know what shows they have made. Maybe watch 1 or 2 episodes so that you can go in the room and compliment them on the show, because you don't want to seem like you don't know who you're talking to. Like, you might want to go in there and be like, oh, I hated this show, and that would be really embarrassing if they're the company that made the show. So definitely going prepared is a thing you should do every single time.
Yeah, that seems like someone really privileged in order to come in with that pitch. But
I know.
If Sam asked, if you're in the room pitching an hour-long comedy, is it a positive thing or a hindrance to bring in, like, as your other pitches, a game show, a sitcom, a dramatic thriller, or should you stay within the same tone world, do you think?
No. You should pitch everything. If that's what you want to pitch, you can come in with all way different types of shows. I even have a one-pager for a scripted show. I don't intend to write it, but it's an idea that I had that hopefully I can pair up with a writer later. But yeah, you can come in with a game show, a comedy. Yeah, you can show a range, because you never know what they're looking for. So yeah, come in with a range.
Yeah. When Hudson asked, when referencing style in the pitch documents, can the shows you reference be dated, or should you do more topical shows? Like, could you reference South Park, or is that bad?
Oh, like if your show is more like The Love Boat.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad to have a dated show, as long as it's like a very stable show that people know. So if I say, hey, my game show is The Price is Right plus this, people are going to know what The Price is Right is right away. So if it's like a very niche show that nobody knows about, I might want to skip that. So you might want to do like shows that people know or that are staples for sure.
Okay. Sorry, just finding.
No, it's cool. Thank you everybody for your questions. This is really
these are great.
These are great.
Pandemic time or not, how important is your location when you want to get into the rooms or get representation from an agent? Do you need to be in Los Angeles or New York City, or what do you think?
I would say that right now is the perfect time to pitch, no matter where you are, because everybody's taking pitches on Zoom. So this is the perfect time, no matter where you are. I would say, though, that after the pandemic, hopefully it is soon, it is definitely New York or LA is what I've noticed. We went to LA to pitch a few times, but it was mostly LA and New York. But right now it's wherever you are, you can pitch through Zoom. So great time to pitch at the moment.
AJ asks, how valuable is an improv background in one's resume, given the extended network of SC, IO, UCB folks out there? Does it help?
I never had to include my resume. You do have like a short biography of who you are in your pitch deck. And of course, when you introduce yourself to people, I think I don't know, it might help you if you're pitching a comedy or something related to that, but in general, nobody asked if I had training anywhere. So I don't know if it helps.
It's good for on your toes pitches, but
yeah, improv is definitely a great skill to have when you're pitching, again, so you can come up with show pitches on the spot, even if you're not prepared.
What do you call standoff episodes versus arc episodes in scripted? Is it episodic versus serial, or anthological versus episodic? What are the words? Do you know? Sam asked.
Oh, I wish I knew. I wish I knew right off the top of my head this answer, but I know they're all online. If you search, the definition to episodic or serial, I know that there's like one-off episodes that are like, if you're pitching 8 episodes, but each one follows a different character, that's like a limited episode. And most scripted, again, have an arc throughout, so they are arc style. yeah, I'm sorry I don't have a better answer to that, but I think there's a lot of resources online too that have all the definitions to those words.
Sam, is this a question that you asked? Sam Callahan, Twilight Zone and Black Mirror. You just, maybe you were referencing something from before, but I don't know.
No, sorry, I had a question.
Okay, cool. Okay, you got a couple people saying thank you, Anna. That was a great presentation.
Oh, guys, and I forgot to mention, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your donations to BLMP. They're an awesome group that gives money to Black LGBTQIA+ migrants who are struggling during the COVID-19 times. And we were able to raise $950, which is so cool. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for all your donations. I forgot to say that in the beginning. So thank you so much. Trying to see if there's other questions.
Would you be willing to do another presentation, Anna, on submitting late night packets to shows like Samantha Bee?
Oh, I'm not a writer by trade. I know my husband, who is a writer and has submitted to every single show, has done workshops on packets. So I could definitely ask him to do one of these because he's the one who has submitted to every show. I know a little bit about the process, but yeah, I don't know if I can help you writing wise.
You got a few people seconding and thirding that question. Although I do think you should do another presentation on something else, or get him to.
Yeah.
Robert asks, is it more productive to try to attract buzz on a series to pitch via a web series, or simply work on the next series pitch idea? Like, should you make the show in order to get more traction, or should you just be like, oh, well, this one didn't get picked up, I should focus on the next?
I think the experience is different with every show. I know that's kind of a lame answer to that question, but I know it's different. I sort of did everything in that. So we built up buzz on Run by creating all the social media, but I was also working on what my next show pitches were going to be. So I was doing all at the same time. I think the most successful examples of people who just focused on their show are, of course, Broad City, who had episodes online. Before they pitched the show, they just made a whole season on YouTube. And also Awkward Black Girl is the web series that was created before Insecure became a show, and she had a bunch of seasons on YouTube and just spent all of her time and dedicated to that one idea. So definitely, I mean, I guess it depends how much time you're willing to spend to either your one idea, or you can do it all. You can kind of like focus on the show that you're trying to pitch and work on other ideas. It just is up to, I guess, how much time you have in the day.
Sarah wants to know, is it okay to just, if they don't ask for other pitches, to just bring them up?
I would say no. I would do that, definitely not in the room. I would not do, because people tend to be very short on their time when you're pitching to them. So you don't want to hold them up and say, hey, by the way, I have these show ideas. I would do that more in an email. So follow up with an email, say, hey, thanks for taking my pitch. By the way, are you interested in hearing about these pitches? That's also another thing. For additional pitches, you never just want to send them your one pager on the additional pitches. You want to ask them, are you willing to, are you looking for more pitches right now? If so, I have some that might interest you. So you never want to slam them your one pagers. You always want to ask if they're interested in hearing more.
Okay. Angela asks, what if I only have 2 minutes to show a micro pilot episode? I have 2 plot points. Should I focus on one? Sorry.
Reread that question again.
Yeah. Angela said, what if I only have 2 minutes to show a micro pilot episode? I have 2 plot points, but should I focus on one? Angela, if you want to unmute, you can clarify that question.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear
Okay,
you.
great. Yeah, my speakers are a little bit damaged, so I wasn't too sure. I was like, okay. So right now, developing an animated pilot, and it's very short because I don't have that much time, but I'm trying to cram everything in there, and throughout the whole series, I have 2 plot points, but do I just render it down to the essentials for the executives?
I would not even, I mean, they're almost always going to ask you if you have a trailer or teaser. It's okay if you don't. I would just put the most important, exciting things in that trailer. I don't know if I would go as far as including the plot points. That's going to be explained in your summary of what the show is about, because you're gonna say what your characters are going to be struggling with or what the show is about in your summary. So when it comes to a teaser, I would just put really kind of show off your work, show off, you know, the most exciting parts of what your show is about for sure. Because that's really what's going to grab them to want more information. And so after you show them that, they might be like, hey, do you have any more content? And you can show them the plot points that you have.
Okay. All right. That could work. Thank you so much on that.
Yeah, of course.
Sam asked, do you ever need a resume, a writer's resume?
I never had to give my resume, but again, in the pitch deck, you're going to include a little biography of yourself. But I never had to send my resume over to anybody.
If you have a reality series idea, would it be wise or unwise for you to bring the potential host to the pitch if their personalities are a big part of the show?
So yes, and by the way, Jim, this is my coworker. It's his birthday today, so thank you for spending your birthday with us. I would say absolutely yes. So when it comes to reality shows, sometimes your subject sells the show. And this is a story that I heard a lot about how Long Island Medium was sold, is that they literally just brought her into the pitch meeting. And she's such a huge personality. She's loud, you know, she talks to ghosts, and she immediately sold the show in the room just because it was captivating to watch her. So yes, if you have a really interesting subject, bring them in with you, for sure.
Nice. Other than outright asking, as a follow-up to a rejection, is there any place online where folks could find what a network agent production company is looking for?
So very rarely do they put it online anywhere. So I attended a couple of weeks ago, there's a summit called the Real Screen Summit, and it's sort of where everybody in the reality show world comes together, and you get to ask network executives what they're looking for. And that was kind of the only time where I got to see executive after executive talk about what their network is looking for. But I don't think they ever put it online. I think it's just sort of a guessing game of watching Netflix and being like, oh, they don't have such and such show, I'm going to pitch that. But yeah, you just have to ask the development person is my number one tip for that.
Have people asked you budget questions when you're pitching? Hudson asked, and if so, how do you field those questions?
Not the budget thing doesn't come up very much until you're at the very end of the negotiations. So they kind of just ask you, if you made a trailer or a teaser, they kind of just ask you, well, what was the cost of this? How much do you estimate your episodes? And that might be more of something that's in writing later. I don't think that would ever come up in the room that you're pitching. It never came up when we were pitching. It just later on in the contracts, they asked us how much we were wanting to spend per episode. So that's the only time that we saw it.
Scott asked, he might need to clarify this, but if you've started a production company, is there a conflict of interest in getting a second company? I think he means if you have a production company. I don't think he means if you started pitching with a production company, but if you have one, is it okay to get someone else to represent you for a project?
Oh, so if you yourself have a production company? Is that
yeah, I'm not sure actually. Scott?
Scott, are you there?
Oh, let me just unmute you. There you
sorry. Yeah, that's pretty much what I meant. Like if you've started something to kind of get the ball rolling with, like, you need like a production company for SAG and all that. So if you have that, is it like a weird conflict of interest, or is it something that's they're open to collaborate on because you've got this kind of, like, you've done work with other things on your own?
No, I don't think there's a conflict. So I've always owned an LLC through my freelance work, and that was never a conflict when I pitched a production company. No, I don't think it's a conflict at all if you have your own production company, unless you want to sell your show through your production company only, because when you sign with a second production company, they're going to make you put in writing that you're not going to pitch it anywhere else. So you can't sell it through your own production company, if that makes sense.
Yes, actually, that answers it perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Scarlett asks, are there any networks that are particularly friendly to creators? Thinking of Michaela Cole's experience with Netflix versus HBO, or do they tend to be the same?
Oh, I'm trying to think friendly with creators. I mean, every network that we pitched to was, of course, friendly. We got a very nice no in emails.
Oh.
Yeah, again, I haven't sold the show, so I haven't had that experience of knowing whether networks are friendly or not later on. I hope they're all very nice.
If they ask about other show ideas, but you haven't registered them yet, pitch them anyway.
This is such a great question. So one time I sent a pitch deck over to an idea that I had to come up last minute, and I hadn't had the time to register it yet. So in the place where I put the registration number, I literally just put a random tag of numbers. Now, there's a very, very rare chance that the person looking at your pitch deck is going to look up that registration, but at some point you do want to register it. But at the time being, I just made up a bunch of numbers, so I didn't have to spend the money. But I went back, registered it, and put the correct number in later.
Nice. Very smart.
Solid advice.
Good
Solid
hack.
advice.
Good question, Alex. Ariana asks, can you pitch your idea with a cast in mind? And should you bring in, this sort of is connected to the question that you asked before. If you have a big personality, you should bring them into the pitch.
So I would say big personality only relates to unscripted,
Okay.
just because what you're selling is the person that, like the Long Island medium. She's not like an actor. She's just a person you have to know and get to know in the room. If you are doing a scripted show, should you bring in an actor? No. This is because in your pitch deck, you can put actors that you think would be good into the role, but you shouldn't solidify that. So if you sell your show, most likely the network or production company are going to have a huge say in casting. You never want to do that job for them because they have casting directors to do that. So you always want to say, oh, this character, I would love to have Michael Cera to play this role. This is, a character that reminds you of Michael Cera, but you never want to bring him into the room and say, he's the one to play this role, because it's a huge turnoff for production companies or networks, because again, they all have casting directors, and that's their job to find those actors to fill those roles. So always put in, a hint of what actors reminds you of the character that you're creating, but don't solidify it for sure.
Cool. That is actually the end of the questions, unless if anyone has questions that they want to ask live, you could just go ahead and raise your hand or just speak up.
Anyone?
Oh,
Okay.
one more.
I just typed it out. But if you're thinking about doing another talk, I'd love to hear about your experience setting up a production company from a low budget, no budget perspective, and what's important, what's not, and any tips and pointers you have on that. If you're looking for more things to do, if not, no worries.
Hey, I'm happy. I was telling Amber that this was actually really fun to plan, and I want to do a series of these workshops. So if you guys have any other things that I know the late night packet one was a topic that I'll probably bring in my husband for, but I'm happy to turn this into a series of whatever you guys have questions about, just because I've spent so much time the last year figuring this out on my own, and it's always just very helpful to put that in one place and teach other people, because I want to have you guys sell the show so you can hire me as your director.
Yes, hire Anna as your director.
This was my big strategy for this workshop, is to get hired to your shows. I'm going to put my email back here as my background so you guys can email me in case you have any pitches that you want me to look over. I'm really happy to always look at your one-pager, your pitch deck, truly anything you have, or to try to get you in touch with someone that I have contacted in the past that's a network development person, in case that your show fits in with them. Again, no promises, because I don't know how good that will go. And I also put Amber's email in case you need something produced by her on Zoom. She's great. She's also a stand-up comedian, in case you need to book someone. If you want to tip us for this, for this amazing show / workshop. I put our Venmos. You don't have to because all of you already donated to BLMP. But I'm just going to leave this up in case you guys have any other questions. Are there any other questions, or else we can go?
People are mostly just saying how amazing you are. So.
Oh, guys, this was so nice. Thank you for giving me a reason to shower, do my hair, and put on makeup today. This was really lovely. I hope you learned stuff. And again, I'm going to try to send this recording and the documents somehow through Eventbrite. I think you can email all the participants later.
You can.
Okay, awesome. So that you guys can sort of take your time and look at exactly what was in the documents. I know I went pretty fast on those. And I really want you guys to get your shows off the ground and start pitching them, because there's a lot of development executives that just hear from the same 5 people every time. So I want them to hear from all of us and sell shows, and you can hire Amber and me on your shows.
Yay.
Cool. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you have a great rest of the evening. Happy birthday, Jim. I hope you do something very fun. Thank you, Amber. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Bye.